Right now, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk is being kept safer, cleaner, and more carefully monitored than most people watching this video. 24/7 surveillance, padded walls, modified meals, constant medical oversight. This is not a punishment block. It is a protection unit. And here is the part that should unsettle you. There is a reason the system is treating Tyler Robinson like fragile evidence instead of a violent suspect. When you understand that reason, your faith in the justice system will not survive intact. As you listen to this, Robinson is confined in a cell that looks less like jail and more like a controlled sanctuary. Lights remain on at all hours, not to break him, but to preserve him. Guards do not look away, not out of suspicion, but out of fear. Cushioned surfaces replace concrete. Hard edges are removed. Bedding is specialized. Clothing is designed to prevent harm. Every detail exists for one purpose: keep him alive, keep him stable. Now compare that to the reality faced by ordinary inmates in the same facility. Freezing concrete floors, exposed metal fixtures, paper-thin mattresses, crowded units filled with unpredictable violence. No separation, no special care, no gentleness. Yet Robinson eats separately. His food arrives on soft trays without utensils. Not because he is a threat to others, but because the system believes he might become a threat to himself. Let that sink in. 2 children lost their father. A wife lost her husband. A public figure was executed in daylight. And the man accused of doing it receives constant protection, care, and funded attention designed to ensure his survival. Now let me walk you through how Tyler Robinson was taken into custody, because this is where the story stops feeling like justice and starts feeling like negotiation. When most Americans picture the arrest of a suspected political assassin, they imagine urgency, force, and overwhelming authority. Sirens, tactical units, commands shouted through megaphones, a suspect treated as an immediate danger to society. That image never materialized here. Instead, what unfolded was something law enforcement themselves quietly described as cooperative and respectful. Not a capture. Conversation. After Robinson was identified through surveillance images released to the public, it was not police who found him first. It was his own family. His mother recognized him and contacted authorities. Robinson did not run. He did not deny involvement. He did not ask about the victims. His concern focused on one thing alone: his personal safety during arrest. That concern reshaped everything that followed. Rather than executing a warrant with speed and force, officials entered discussions. His father, along with a family friend who was a retired deputy sheriff, began coordinating with authorities. The goal was not public safety. The goal was reassurance. Robinson feared that officers might shoot him during arrest. That fear was treated as reasonable, urgent, and deserving of accommodation, so arrangements were made. On September 11th, Robinson met federal agents in a controlled location. No tactical gear, no dynamic entry, no pressure. United States Marshals and Federal Bureau of Investigation agents facilitated a calm exchange. Robinson was not confronted. He was received. The scene more closely resembled a negotiated surrender between governments than the detention of a man accused of murder. While this was happening, Charlie Kirk's family was preparing for burial. His children were being told their father would never come home. His wife was beginning a life defined by absence. And at the same moment, the man accused of killing him was being handled carefully, deliberately, and gently by the same system meant to represent accountability. This is where the official explanation begins to surface. Authorities insist that Robinson's treatment is not about sympathy. They claim it is about prevention. They reference a familiar name: Jeffrey Epstein. According to former corrections officials, every precaution surrounding Robinson exists to prevent a death in custody that could ignite public outrage, lawsuits, and endless speculation. Suicide watch, protective custody, total supervision. On paper, the logic sounds clinical. Prevent self-harm, prevent foul play, preserve the integrity of the process. But examine the reality more closely and the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. The system mobilized extraordinary resources to protect Robinson's life after the crime. Yet the victim, despite receiving threats, despite being a polarizing political figure, stood on a public stage with minimal security. Robinson now exists inside an environment engineered for preservation. Cameras never blink. Guards never look away. Clothing is modified. Architecture is altered. Everyday items are restricted. Socks, paper, utensils, everything that could introduce risk is removed. His cell is not designed for punishment. It is designed for continuity. And here is where frustration turns into anger. Despite all of this accommodation, Robinson has offered nothing in return. He has refused to explain his motive. He has declined to discuss influences. He has provided no insight into whether others were involved or inspired. Investigators have asked. The silence remains. The system adjusted itself around his fears. It ensured comfort. It ensured survival. And in response, Robinson has chosen non-cooperation. That refusal carries consequences far beyond his own case. If this attack was not isolated, if others were encouraged or inspired, information matters. Lives may depend on it. Yet he withholds everything while benefiting from maximum protection. This dynamic deepens the perception of imbalance. A suspect treated with extraordinary care. Investigators treated with indifference. The public left with questions. And a justice system that appears willing to give endlessly without demanding accountability in return. Now consider the evidence itself, because the physical trail tells a story that feels both definitive and strangely incomplete. Robinson's DNA was recovered from multiple critical locations. The weapon, a towel used to wrap the rifle, a screwdriver left behind on the rooftop. These are not coincidences. This is forensic linkage. Science anchoring a suspect to a scene. Yet even here, anomalies appear. The ammunition used was engraved. Some casings carried explicit political messages. Others included crude internet humor that feels wildly out of place in a calculated assassination. Investigators have acknowledged confusion. The tone does not match the act. Serious violence paired with juvenile mockery. Surveillance footage shows careful movement. A figure avoiding clear identification. But analysts have questioned official descriptions of Robinson's physical condition based on released images. Details do not align cleanly. Neither do the alleged confessions. Text messages attributed to Robinson describe the crime with unsettling precision. Locations, methods, jokes. Yet missing timestamps and selective releases raise concerns among legal observers. When evidence appears too perfect, scrutiny intensifies. When questions remain unanswered, trust erodes. The unanswered questions only multiply the longer this case remains suspended in silence. How did Robinson reach a secured rooftop without being detected? Why were access points left unguarded? Why did security protocols collapse so completely for a speaker who had received explicit threats? These are not minor oversights. They are systemic failures that demand accountability, yet they are being overshadowed by the careful preservation of the accused. Students present that day described an atmosphere that felt underprotected. Some noted more visible law enforcement at routine sporting events than at a gathering involving thousands and a nationally known political figure. Standard measures were absent. Entry points were lightly monitored. Elevated positions were insufficiently secured. The contrast between lax prevention and extreme post-arrest protection is impossible to ignore. This disparity has fueled a broader national debate. Many Americans see two systems operating simultaneously. One that struggles to safeguard lives before violence occurs, and another that mobilizes instantly to protect suspects afterward. Robinson now occupies a climate-controlled environment with constant observation and legal insulation. Meanwhile, other defendants in politically charged cases endure harsh confinement, isolation, and drawn-out detention without comparable concern. Whether intentional or not, this imbalance has shaped public perception. It has strengthened the belief that political violence is not treated equally, that ideology influences sympathy, that narrative determines urgency. Even if officials deny bias, confidence erodes when outcomes appear inconsistent. Political leaders have weighed in. Calls for the harshest possible punishment echo across media. The death penalty has been raised as a response proportionate to the act. Yet those declarations exist in sharp contrast to Robinson's daily reality. He remains alive, protected, and uncooperative, benefiting from safeguards exceeding those afforded to many innocent citizens. Perhaps the most revealing voice in this entire story belongs to Erica Kirk. In the midst of unimaginable loss, she has rejected calls for vengeance. When asked about execution, she deferred judgment to the government. She spoke of faith, of conscience, of refusing to carry hatred forward. Her restraint exposes the moral vacuum surrounding the system's behavior. While she navigates grief, raises two small children alone, and reconstructs a shattered future, the man accused of ending her husband's life resides in controlled safety. He withholds information. He resists inquiry. And yet the machinery around him continues to function flawlessly on his behalf. This leads to the uncomfortable conclusion many avoid. Robinson is not being protected because he is fragile. He is being protected because he is valuable. Alive, he is manageable. Alive, he is containable. Dead, he becomes a question no one can answer. His silence suggests leverage. His treatment suggests caution. His preservation suggests fear of what might surface if control is lost. Lone actors do not usually require this level of institutional delicacy. Evidence is not usually handled this carefully unless implications extend beyond one individual. Every decision surrounding Robinson points to containment rather than resolution. Evidence is curated. Access is limited. Narratives are controlled. The priority appears to be stability, not transparency. Order, not explanation. This case has become a mirror reflecting the health of the justice system itself. Whether it can confront political violence honestly, whether it can prioritize victims over optics, whether it can demand truth instead of simply managing fallout. Robinson will face trial. Charges will be argued. Penalties will be debated. But the deeper verdict will be rendered by the public. By whether trust can survive selective protection. By whether justice still feels impartial. By whether a nation believes accountability remains intact. What happens next will define more than one case. It will define what justice means when politics and power collide, and whether the system exists to serve truth or to shield itself from it. Tyler Robinson now faces aggravated murder charges enhanced by victim-targeting provisions. Prosecutors claim the killing was deliberate and ideologically motivated. If a jury agrees, he could be sentenced to death under Utah law. But the larger issue goes far beyond one verdict. This case will reveal whether the American justice system can still tell the difference between those who suffer and those who cause suffering, between accountability and protection. Because trust in justice depends on it. Charlie Kirk's family deserves clarity, not confusion. The public deserves transparency, not silence. And Robinson, no matter how carefully he is housed or how gently he is treated, must ultimately face consequences equal to the gravity of the act he is accused of committing. What happens here will shape how political violence is handled in the future. It will show whether power and optics outweigh principle. It will decide whether justice remains firm or bends under pressure. The way this system responds will define what kind of country this is becoming and whether fairness still applies when the stakes are uncomfortable.